Hello YouTube friends and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Deidre from our Upcycled Life and I do lots of thrifting, upcycling, repurposing, and DIY content. And today's video is all about decoupage craft ideas. All of these are great for the beginner and I'm going to do step-by-step tutorial and take you through each of these projects so you can create some of these things yourself. Okay, lots of work. Let's get started. The first project that we're going to work on is this thrifted picture frame that had a painted picture in it. It was $2.99 at the thrift store, and that's what I'm going to use as the base of my project. The canvas was painted with oil paint, so I took my sanding block and I sanded it all down so it was nice and smooth. And I taped off the picture frame because I want to leave it the natural wood color. I painted the first coat on top of the canvas with some black chalk paint, and then I'm painting some white chalk paint on top of that. I used the black paint first because that will cover up all of the oil-based paint underneath. Once everything was completely dry, we're ready to start our project. I picked these napkins up at the dollar store. They always have really beautiful napkins there, and if you keep checking back, they always bring in new ones all the time. When you're decoupaging, you only want to use one ply of the napkin. So I have taken off, these were 3 plies, so I've taken off the back 2 plies. Don't throw them out, I saved them for another project, but we're going to just use this 1 ply that has the flowers on it. I like to tear my napkin around the edges. When you're decoupaging, it just helps it blend in better on your project. And I'm just tearing around these big floral pieces and piecing it around my frame until I like the way that it looks. I'm going to be using my Mod Podge mat. You can use any decoupage product. I prefer this one, it works the best for me. And you can also use a matte or a glossy depending on what you're looking for when you're completing your project. I'm just putting a light coat of Mod Podge underneath the area where the napkin is going to be, and then just another really light coat on top of it to secure it all in place. We're not going to worry about the little bits overhanging right now. We can clean that up when it's all finished. I've decoupaged my napkins all around the outside so it looks a bit like a border, and I'm going to put a quote in the middle. I'm going to do my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method. I've printed this off on my LaserJet printer, made sure to reverse the text, and I'm going to center it right where I want it. Let it dry completely overnight, 24 hours, and then when it's dried, we're going to dampen it with a little bit of water, rub away the paper, and we're going to have a beautiful graphic on our project. I'm going to seal it all up with a polyacrylic sealer. You don't want to put much on, just a really light coat. If you apply too much of a top coat, it will bubble up on you. I prefer the polyacrylic sealer as a top coat over the Mod Podge. And there you have a beautiful canvas and upcycled frame. Next decoupage project that we're going to work on is this bowl that I found at the thrift store. It's beautiful and I love that it has a lid. And I have the perfect napkin that I want to decoupage with. I'm going to give this a bit of a distressed look when it's all finished. So I've painted my base coat with my black chalk paint. When that was all dry, I put on a coat of my white chalk paint. Because when we sand, we want that black to peek through a little bit. I picked these napkins up at HomeSense. Absolutely love them. It's going to be perfect for this little project. Because this little container has so many sides, we're going to do it in stages. I'm going to do the panel on the top first, making sure I've cut out my napkin so I have the floral image that I want in the middle of it. Trim off the extra. Then we're going to set it aside and let it dry. And then for the side panels, I'm going to do every other panel. If we try to decoupage this napkin all in one piece, it's going to be miserable. It will be full of wrinkles and full of bubbles. So if we just do this in separate panels, it will go on a lot smoother and a lot easier. Cut out your napkin a little bit bigger than the panel, place it down with a little bit of Mod Podge, and then I like to use some saran wrap or cling wrap. It just helps get rid of the wrinkles and bubbles without tearing the napkin. Once I had every other panel done, I set it aside and let it dry completely. Now I'm going to put on the polyacrylic sealer now on all of those dried pieces, all those panels and the top. Set it aside and let that dry. Once everything's completely dried, I'm taking a 220 grit sandpaper and I'm sanding off all the extra bits of the napkin around the sides. We're now ready to go on to some other panels. Same thing. We're going to do every other panel, use some saran wrap, get it nice and smooth, set it aside, and let it dry completely. I know this is really time consuming, but when you're all finished, you'll be much happier with your project without having any bubbles and wrinkles and trying to work with a full napkin. Whenever I go to the thrift store, I always keep my eye out for little bowls or dishes or plates or anything that I can upcycle and make pretty again, especially if it's dated. There's so many beautiful napkins that you can choose from that will make your project just pop. And again, once everything's dry, I take that 220 grit sandpaper and you can see how it just makes a nice crisp line when you sand it. Now I'm going to be using this little container quite a bit, so I want to seal it up with an engine enamel. Makes it really durable. I let that dry completely, and then I thought it needed a nice little knob on the top. Using my E6000, I had this little glass knob, and I'm going to glue it right to the top of that. Finished it off beautifully. So there we have a cute little container. I'm going to keep my earrings and rings in with a thrift store find that I've decoupaged with a beautiful napkin. Next project is also a really easy one for the beginner. I bought this artist canvas at the dollar store, and we're going to use our acrylic paint. After that acrylic paint has completely dried, I'm going to put on a really thick coat of the matte Mod Podge. I'm going to show you with this project how easy it is to decoupage doing the iron-on technique. After the first layer of Mod Podge is completely dry, we're going to reapply a second coat and let it dry completely. After that second coat has completely dried, I have printed off this graphic from the Graphic Fairy, and we are going to lay it on top of that canvas and then put a piece of parchment paper over top of it, and then we're going to iron on the highest setting with no steam, and that paper is going to melt right into that Mod Podge and adhere it. Simple, easy way to decoupage. I'm putting a really light coat of the Mod Podge on top to seal it up, and we have this beautiful graphic on a canvas. I've got so much decoupage information in here. I hope I'm not overloading you, but these are all so fun. I wanted to share them all with you. The next project we're doing is this glass bowl, and this is fantastic. We are going to use 2 different napkins with this project, and before we start, we want to make sure that we have that glass bowl really clean, no oils or anything on it. I'm using an alcohol wipe to clean it. We're going to use 1 ply of these napkins. The first napkin I'm going to cut in a circle so it's a little bit bigger than our bowl. I'm going to lay it so the good side is facing in towards the bowl. And then we're going to just start applying our Mod Podge, starting in the middle and working our way down. Now you are going to get some wrinkles when you're doing this technique because the napkin is not going to completely form smooth around the curves of the bowl, but we're embracing it with this project because it works and it looks excellent. You want to set it aside and let it dry completely, and then when it's dry, I'm going to use a sanding block and just remove all the napkin along the top. Now comes the magic. So we can see one napkin on the inside and the other napkin on the outside. I'm applying a coat of my homemade white chalk paint. If you don't do this, you will be able to see the other napkin through this napkin because it dries translucent. When we're putting the paint on, it will show one napkin on the inside and this napkin on the outside. We're doing this exactly like how we did the first step. Start in the middle of the bowl and work your way down, applying Mod Podge nice and even as we go. We've let that completely dry, sanded off the edges, and I'm going to seal this all up with some polyacrylic sealer. And how gorgeous is this bowl? Simple and easy. Next simple decoupage project, I'm going to show you how you can decoupage a picture right into a frame. I've taken the wood out of the back of each frame and I'm going to paint it with some white chalk paint. I'm going to show you how you can decoupage using an inkjet printer. I've printed off some adventure pictures of my husband and I, and I've printed these off on my inkjet printer on regular computer paper. I'll put it in the oven for about 10 minutes on the lowest setting, and then I'm going to seal them all with some hairspray. If you don't do this step when you're using an inkjet printer, when you introduce the Mod Podge, the ink may smear or rub off. I've applied 2 coats of the Mod Podge, letting it completely dry in between each coat, laid my photo into it, parchment paper, iron on the lowest setting with no steam, and we're ironing it right onto that wood. When you introduce the heat into the Mod Podge, it will soak into the paper and it will seal it right on, decoupaging it onto your project. I've let everything cool down. Now we're going to seal it up with a little tiny bit of the polyacrylic sealer. Don't introduce too much or it will bubble and wrinkle again. You just need a really light coat. So I hope these projects have given you lots of inspiration to start decoupaging. If you've enjoyed today's video, I'd love for you to like and subscribe and follow along. And if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy either of these videos. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.